And
Yeah.
I will be running in my famous tutu, but I'll tell anyone, if you're thinking of doing a marathon, volunteer or spectate or both at a marathon. That is what I did before I did my very first marathon. I volunteered, and just seeing it was like, okay, I guess I'll sign up now.
But let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is about what's coming. And I know two big events, one being a major event here in Chicago every single year, the Chicago Marathon, coming in 2 weeks or a little less than. So
13 days and counting, 13, but who's counting?
I would imagine at least one of us is actually counting that down. So, and then the other being the men's Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, 2 weeks after that on October 26th. So, but before we even talk about that, the big marathon race that we have here in Chicago, the Chicago Marathon, Sunday, October 13th. One of our esteemed members and colleagues here on the show, Coach Joy. How are you feeling? Are you ready for it? Are you enjoying your taper going into the Chicago Marathon?
You know, I've done Chicago. I actually don't know how many times I've done Chicago. I actually need to go back and count.
What would be your ballpark?
Maybe 15.
Wow.
I don't know. I did my first Chicago in 1998, I think.
Wow. Okay. So, back in the 1900s. Oh my God.
I know. Oh my God. Yes, it's the 1900s, you know, where we didn't have GPS watches or gels that actually tasted good.
That was a century ago.
Sure we still had rotary phones.
Yeah, we did have the rotary phones, and you have to use the keypad, the number keypad, to send a text.
We're walking around with, and I didn't even have a cell phone, I think, back then, but or eventually just got one probably shortly around that time. And I had to carry a separate phone, a camera, and an iPod. I always had to carry those 3 electronic devices with me. Now we have our hands computer,
all in one,
our single all-in-one device.
I can truly say I enjoy Chicago Marathon Sunday. It should be a national holiday. I mean, everyone comes out. There is no point in the course where it is a dead zone, because people are just out from the very beginning
everywhere
to the middle to the very end. Right before you hit Mount Roosevelt, people are encouraging you. Music, DJs, people trying to convince you to drink Malort. Local, anyone who's not from Chicago, please don't take the Malort shots.
Ever.
Don't do
Even
it.
if you're not doing the marathon, there's no reason to
just don't. But just
although after 26.2 miles, I would actually consider it.
I think the last time I ran the full marathon, I actually took 4 shots of Malort on course because there were that many opportunities where people were handing them out.
But it's one of the things, and I know Chris have done a couple of the majors also. There's a difference between even Chicago and New York. There is a big difference in the vibe, the feel, and just, you know, going to the various neighborhoods in Chicago. Chicago Marathon goes through 29 neighborhoods, which is the best, perfect sightseeing tour of the city on foot. And it also, if you're not doing the marathon, or if you have someone running the marathon, it's very easy via public transportation or via Divvy Bike to track your runners.
We just had an event last night with Carrie Pinkowski, the race director. Yeah, Joy and I were both there, and with Meb Keflezgi and a couple pros, Connor Mance and some others, talking about the Chicago Marathon. And when I had a chance to talk to Carrie afterwards, I told him of all the marathons I've done, and I haven't done all the majors, but New York, Berlin, others, you know, those are all generally the world's largest marathon. You know, kind of regular marathon is New York City Marathon. It is a bigger event. Just over 50,000, 52,000 participants at New York. And they do get more spectators out there, but what Chicago has that New York does not is really the professional level of certain things. Like the aid stations at Chicago are sometimes 2 city blocks long. Like there are, of all the marathons and events I've done, there's been no race that even compares to how well managed those aid stations.
Not at all. And I've actually worked in off years, even before meeting Chris. When I wasn't running Chicago, I would run another marathon, but I will work the aid stations, and you're there at 5:00, 5:30 in the morning, and you're making sure that those cups are eight stacks high, and it's almost like clockwork compared to being in New York.
Yep.
And I'll tell anybody, Chicago's aid stations are just top notch. Just the crowd support and just how well it's managed.
Everyone should at least at some point in their lives either spectate a World Marathon Major or participate in one or both, because it really, it's essentially the one day of the year where a whole city shuts down to celebrate running. It's just a running party all day long. There's no other day of the year where like literally the whole city shuts down. People are coming out. It's a party. We're setting up multiple cheering stations. So if people want to join me, I dress up in a costume and we just have a blast. It's a party in the street all day long.
He hands out Skittles.
So you'll see me in an interesting costume probably, but yeah.
So if for anybody that's listening that is looking out for us that might be participating in the Chicago Marathon in 2 weeks, where, generally speaking, in the race, where should they be looking for you guys, and what tents and what setup are you guys with?
Yeah, and the cool thing is the phone app that they have is by Real Time Runner Tracking, RTRT.me. You can download the app and you can actually zoom in and see where different groups like charity teams, club teams, community teams, church groups, like all different groups are setting up cheering stations along the course. And you got the app there. And so you can actually zoom in and they show like a little kind of like a blowhorn, like a megaphone icon with a team name or community name. So different groups can apply to be kind of official, officially identify where they're going to set up a cheering station. And the marathon supports it. They send them actually like cheer supplies and cowbells and stuff like that. So we've applied for 3 different locations as part of one of our charity teams, Team to End AIDS. So up on the very northeast corner. Oh, there you go. You pull it right up. Yeah, where you get to the very northern tip of the course, so to speak, where it's Sheridan Road, essentially. You come off of Inner Lakeshore Drive. So right where before Inner Lakeshore Drive turns west, we'll have an early cheer squad there. I won't be at that one. We'll have some other coaches and volunteers there. And then I'm going down early to set up a cheer station down at the south end of the course on South Michigan. So I'll be at mile 22.4 and 24 and change. It'll be right kind of after a couple aid stations as you're running south and as you're running north. So I could get to see people twice. I get to see you when you're at mile 22 and then again, mile 24, and change. So that's a part where people are really struggling and there's not quite as many spectators out there. So I like to get out there and just provide that little extra bit of encouragement if I can. Maybe an extra bit of fuel or an ice pop or something I can hand out to help people along. So I'll do what I can to motivate and
Malort at your station.
I don't know about Malort. Maybe we'll add it this year. Who knows? We'll come up with some fun stuff for sure. But yeah, it's a fun day.
Maybe a better liqueur.
Tequila.
Yeah.
I'm requesting tequila blanco, Estate Cinco Ocho. Just saying.
I mean, we're all here to support Joey anyway, so.
And I will be running in my famous tutu, but I'll tell anyone, if you're thinking of doing a marathon, volunteer or spectate or both at a marathon. That is what I did before I did my very first marathon. I volunteered, and just seeing it was like, okay, I guess I'll sign up now.
Yeah. It
And you
makes a
get
big
really cool
difference.
swag too. Like every volunteer, like at the, just handing out cups of water and Gatorade. You get like a jacket to keep you warm, like a really nice one too. And
A
all
jacket, a t-shirt, and a hat.
yeah. So
Nice.
get some fun swag out of it, but you just get to have fun and interact and, make somebody's day. So I always recommend, I would say though, if you're a runner or someone who's spectating a runner, coordinate with your friends and family ahead of time on, if you're going to try to spectate at a certain part of the course. The most important thing is let them know what side of the street you're going to be on and
100%.
know where to be, because most of the streets that you're running on are like four lanes wide. And when you've got thousands of people and thousands of spectators, you can be screaming at the top of your lungs. And if you're on the other side of the street, you're not going to hear, or, as a runner, you're not going to see people. So definitely coordinate. I always tell people, like, plan, if you're going to be on the right side of the street all the time, just plan to be on the right side of the street all the time. And that makes it easy to remember, where you should be looking and where your friends and family should be looking for you. Or get a really bright, like a neon construction board sign. Some people print like 6-foot tall copies of people's heads and put them on a stick, something unique.
Please don't do that.
Definitely helps to make yourself visible.
Yeah, I will say the first time I spectated Chicago, and I had a few athletes that I had worked with, plus other friends that I knew that were racing, and didn't do as much of the coordination as you are recommending. And it was just like, you're just, it is just a constant scan back and forth. And I will say this on the app, it is pretty accurate. So there is a benefit to having that by your side. Hopefully you're not like someone like me right now. And hopefully Verizon and AT&T and everyone else, all of their cell services are still live and active. I still don't have any cell service right now. So, but aside from that, if you're on the app, it's pretty accurate. So you kind of really have a good idea of like when your athlete or when you can anticipate you seeing them, depending on where you are in the course. So, but yeah, otherwise it was just like, just sort of hope and pray that, and I had at least a sign that said, congratulations, or go to all these different numbers and names. So it was like trying to identify as much as I could. And I think out of the 5 athletes that I was spectating, 4 of them saw us. So I count that as a super win. But yeah, you're just kind of hoping for the best to see if you can see them, because once they're there, they're gone again, and you don't get a chance to really, because there's just so many. It's not like triathlon where if you spectated those, there's not as many participants, and the flow is a little bit more, I guess, sort of like spaghettied out just a little bit further. So it's a little bit easier to see them and kind of know when they're going to be coming. But when it's just like a mad pack of just thousands and thousands and thousands of runners, it is a totally different thing.
Yeah, but I'd say Chicago is definitely one of the easier marathon majors to spectate. Like, you can go out, take the L. There's certain parts where you can, spectate and then just walk a block or two and then see your runner several miles later.
Mile 4 and mile 11.
Yep. Down in the kind of Gold Coast
Gold Coast
area.
Old Town.
Townish is a great spot. Out on the west side too, there's some spots like that, and then down the south end as well. So if you plan accordingly, you can see people a lot of times. As a runner, I would say a good tip too is if they don't sometimes print your name on your bib, like by your bib number, put your name, on your bib or on your shirt, because you'll get thousands of people that'll just cheer your name. And it seems silly, but like that gives you a little bit of an energy boost, and people start cheering you by name. And that's a fun way to kind of really, really make sure you have a good experience as an athlete as well. But yeah, I think our south side, I was going to say our south side cheer station we're going to set up for Team to End AIDS is going to double as a Tri 312 cheer zone this year as well. So if anyone's running the marathon, just look for Team to End AIDS T2 or Tri 312. You might see some signs down there on the south side. You can come hang out with us if you want to cheer people on. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a fun overall day. And yeah, the other, I got one more spectator or two more spectator tips I'll give out. Cause I'm putting together right now a presentation on our marathon, giving tips to the athletes and the spectators alike, because it is a long
you
day.
are too?
Yep. And you need to have a fueling and hydration plan if you're a spectator as well. Like, plan when to eat. You're going to be on your feet all day potentially. Plan some time to get off of your feet and sit down and have a real meal of some kind as you're running around the city. I think that helps quite a bit, just to make sure you really get the most out of your day and are able to support your athletes. And then the other thing too, and I haven't seen yet if they have this on the app, but oftentimes on the app, they have an option where you can actually send a text message, or some years they even have a photo. You can upload a photo. And on one part of the marathon course, they'll have a jumbotron. And when the athlete runs across that part of a timing mat right beforehand, the jumbotron will pop up with their photo and or text message. And if they miss it, they email it to them after the fact. So if you want to send a fun or motivational, celebratory message to somebody, download the app and submit that, because that's always a nice thing for the athletes to see. And as an athlete, go and check your email afterwards. You'll get those messages sent to you after the race as well.
It's usually around mile 8, after mile 8 and mile 23, roughly. So there's two jumbotrons on the north end and on the south end.
Yep. Some years they change it, but yeah, the last couple of years it's been up there on the north end, and then somewhere down on the south or west side too.
Excellent. Cool. Great advice, you guys. Great updates. And so hopefully this will provide some really good quality information and advice and ways to coordinate what the Chicago Marathon day will be for them in 2 weeks from yesterday. And Coach Joy, good luck. Have fun. Enjoy the race.
Yes.
We will be looking for that 2-2 out there. and running you down with a whole bottle of Malort just for you. So
that's how you're going to see me actually sprint people.
Hey, extra motivation. There we go.